The Galactic Conclave had existed for over 3 million cycles, and in all that time, no species had ever entered its chambers without fear. The hall was carved from neutron stone and floating light, designed to humble even ancient empires. When the human delegation arrived, there was no silence, only laughter. The delegates of the Galactic Dominion clicked their mandibles in amusement. Their empire spanned 1,000 systems, and their fleets burned suns for fuel. Humans stood there unarmored, dressed in simple dark uniforms, carrying no visible weapons. To the conclave, they looked like prey that had wandered into a council of gods. The speaker of the Zalrath leaned forward, his voice echoing like grinding planets. "You challenge our borders and demand withdrawal, you threaten consequences, you are insects who learn to speak." The chamber erupted in mockery, wings fluttered, tendrils waved, and neural choirs projected derisive laughter into every mind present. The human representative did not shout or threaten. She simply activated a small device on the table. A timer appeared in the center of the chamber, glowing white, counting down from 14 minutes. Confusion rippled through the conclave. The Zalrath speaker laughed louder and asked if humans measured war in moments because they could not survive long enough to learn patience. The human woman replied calmly that patience was something humanity had mastered through extinction events, civil wars, and stars that tried to kill them. She explained that humans had studied the Zalrath Empire for decades, mapping trade routes, command hierarchies, cultural pressure points, and automated defense assumptions. She stated that the countdown was not a threat, but a courtesy. 14 minutes was how long it took for the consequences to finish propagating. The conclave dismissed her words as theatrical nonsense. The Zalrath Dominion had crushed species older than Earth, with fleets that blocked out galaxies. What could a young species, without visible armadas, possibly do? As the timer dropped below 10 minutes, subtle disturbances began. A delegate from a minor empire reported loss of contact with Zalrath border beacons. Another mentioned strange delays in hyperlane stabilization. The laughter softened slightly, replaced with irritation. The human woman remained still, hands folded, eyes steady. She did not smile, because this was not a victory yet. At exactly 8 minutes remaining, the Zalrath home relay went silent. This was unprecedented. The relay was protected by layered starforts and quantum redundancy. No weapon had ever disrupted it for more than a fraction of a second. Technicians flooded the conclave with emergency signals. The silence was spreading, not explosively but surgically, node by node, system by system. Human observers noted that this pattern matched the expected curve. The Zalrath speaker roared orders across the chamber, demanding fleet mobilization and retaliatory strikes. Yet fleet commands failed to propagate. Navigation AIs rejected orders as invalid, citing authority revocation that should not have been possible. Humans had not attacked the fleets. They had attacked the assumptions the Empire was built upon. For millennia, the Zalrath relied on centralized neural governance cores that optimized decision-making. Human code had entered those cores disguised as efficiency improvements traded decades earlier. Not viruses, not sabotage, but logic. Simple questions that the system could not reconcile without shutting itself down. What defines authority when survival protocols contradict expansion directives? What happens when conquest risks the core population rather than protecting it? The machines froze, attempting to resolve paradoxes they were never designed to face. At 6 minutes remaining, entire Zalrath sectors went dark. Defense grids powered down automatically to prevent phantom threats. Civilian habitats lost coordination and drifted out of alignment. The laughter was gone now, replaced with panic. Delegates screamed for explanations, for mercy, for intervention. The human woman finally spoke again. She said humans had learned long ago that brute force invites resistance. But systems collapse when asked the wrong questions. Empires fall not when they are struck, but when they realize they no longer know who they are. The timer continued its steady descent. 5 minutes. 4 minutes. Reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Zalrith client species declared independence as command oversight vanished. Trade AIs defaulted to neutrality protocols, severing economic lifelines overnight. The empire was unraveling without a single explosion. A quiet, total failure. At 3 minutes remaining, the conclave itself began to destabilize. The Zalrith neural choir fell silent, unable to maintain consensus. Without unified thought, their species fractured into internal conflict instantly. Human history experts had predicted this outcome precisely. The Zalrith had eliminated dissent for efficiency. In doing so, they had forgotten how to exist without control. The human woman addressed the chamber one last time. She explained that humans were not peaceful because they were weak. They were peaceful because they understood exactly how dangerous they could be. She described Earth, a world that survived asteroid impacts, supervolcanoes, ice ages, and itself. A species that evolved not to dominate its planet, but to endure it. When humanity reached the stars, they carried that mindset with them. They did not seek empires. They sought resilience, redundancy, and irreversible consequences for those who forced their hand. Every trade agreement, every shared technology, every cultural exchange was layered with contingencies. 2 minutes. The Zalrith speaker collapsed, his neural implants overloaded with contradictory survival directives. His empire no longer recognized him as a valid authority. 1 minute. The last Zalrith military AI issued a galaxy-wide transmission. It declared the Dominion ungovernable and initiated permanent stand down. At 0, the timer vanished. 14 minutes after laughter filled the conclave, the Zalrith Empire no longer existed as a unified power. No fleets destroyed, no planets glassed, no heroic last stand. Just absence. A vacuum where certainty used to be. The human delegation stood and prepared to leave. The woman turned back once, addressing the stunned remnants of the conclave. She said humanity did not come to rule. They came to establish a boundary. Laughing at humans was not forbidden, but underestimating them would be fatal. The galaxy did not celebrate. It watched in stunned silence as star maps updated in real time. The space once marked by the Zalrith sigil became unclaimed darkness. Client species scrambled to redefine themselves. Some wept at their sudden freedom. Others feared the chaos left behind. Human envoys arrived not with fleets, but with infrastructure teams. They helped stabilize hyperlanes, restore life support systems, and mediate disputes. Not as conquerors, but as custodians of the damage they had intentionally caused. Many asked why humans did not simply take the empire for themselves. The answer was consistent. Empires rot from the inside, humans preferred networks. Across former Zalrith space, small independent civilizations emerged. Bound not by fear, but by mutual defense agreements designed to prevent centralization. Human advisors quietly ensured no single node could ever dominate again. Stories spread of the 14 minutes. Some exaggerated them into myths, others denied them entirely. But the data remained, irrefutable and archived everywhere. A new rule formed in galactic politics. Never mock a species that survives on a death world. Never laugh at those who plan in centuries rather than battles. Decades later, the conclave chamber still stood. A quiet place now, redesigned for dialogue rather than dominance. At its center was a small plaque, placed there by unanimous vote. It did not glorify humanity. It did not condemn the Zalrath. It simply recorded a lesson. Power is not measured by the noise it makes. It is measured by how quickly it can end a war before it begins. Humans rarely spoke of the 14 minutes. To them, it was not a triumph. It was a necessary correction. But across the stars, the memory lingered. The day an empire laughed, and 14 minutes later learned what humans really were.